to work, one whole day to play. Come on, everybody, wear your roller skates today. It's Saturday, 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 it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday,
Saturday
with Renee. Yes, welcome everybody back to Black Liberation Media for episode 120 of Saturdays with Renee, featuring Renee Johnston. I'm Jared Ball. Please like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon. All the links are in the show description. Put this in your socials. Invite others to join you this morning. And Renee,
what up?
How you feeling?
I'm here, man. I'm here. Everything else is extra. I'm here. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I got. How you doing? How was the rest of the birthday celebration day?
The birthday was great. And, you know, good food, family. And it's always good to see, you know, the household back together again.
You do not like being an empty nester. That is not your
We're getting there. So, and then on top of that, our youngest got another acceptance letter. Nice. So she's just racking them up. Gonna have some decisions to make.
There we go.
So
is soccer still on the list?
Yeah, and I love how we got her so she's been very proactive. Salute to her. And we've gotten her there's a program where you can link people up with, and you probably know about this, but NCAA athletes who are in a similar track. So she's been linking up with a young woman who's at a university playing soccer, who could sort of mentor her and help, you know, her prepare, because she's going to have to walk on to whatever team she wants to play for in the fall. Right. So, and this woman did something similar, had to switch schools, overcome some adversity, and now is having a thriving career. So it's like, it's kind of worked out nicely. So, So she's training, she's finishing strong academically. She's, again, preparing herself physically and getting ready to walk on. So somebody's going to get, one of those, you didn't see it coming, great players, because she wasn't able to be properly recruited due to the injury. And they're going to get this diamond in the rough that's going to show up. And
that is what my husband calls a program kid. Like the kid who comes in and everything about them is beneficial to the program. So yeah.
And then she's just a great kid. She's a great person now, not even a kid anymore. She's a great young woman. And
she was very sweet both times that I've met your children. So yes.
And so she's a good teammate. So it's gonna be good. Wherever she ends up, we're very excited. We, again, kind of like with several of us who are relatively fortunate, is if we don't look outside of the four walls we live in, we might actually think things are okay normal, out here. Like we might even think the world is half decent.
Listen, I was driving, I have a commute to get the little one to school, and on the way back from drop off, I was on the phone with my mother. Hi, mommy. She's out there listening somewhere. And I was like, what's crazy is like, there's traffic right now. People are just like going about their business, just like, going wherever, doing whatever. Like, shit is not wild everywhere. Like, facts, Leah, the world is falling. And so one must wonder, like, as you're going through this day-to-day process, and we've talked about this because this is my struggle all the time, is like going through the day and trying to maintain life while knowing how wild shit is. right? Like if I was a single person with no children, I could see myself being a person who's like in Palestine trying to figure out like how do I help, like what can I, like where can I go to be of use in this particular moment? You know what I mean? Like I would have been living in a tree in Atlanta in 2021 if I had no child and no like responsibilities. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes I like to think that sometimes I think that I don't know if I like to think, but I sometimes think that I intentionally had children.
So you did not.
So I didn't have to live up to my actual beliefs. So I could have an excuse for copping out, because when I have those thoughts about what I might be like childless in 2026, again, I just keep looking at George. I just yeah, and I'll just just leave it at that. But that's usually the direction I see myself in. I'm like, man, oh man. And yeah.
And it's
But
just,
I don't know. But I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, you know, like it's I can say that because I can't do it, right? Like I don't, but there's also a part of me, and this is part of like this whole conversation that we've been having since yesterday. Shout out again to the Patreons who joined us yesterday with Laura and Jared Ware from Millennials. Laura now from Psychic Militancy. I always have to remember now. She's got her show out.
Absolutely.
But like this, doing the things that you can do, right? Like
Go ahead, you put in $4.99 for it, so salute.
Can't wait to see y'all on African World Order. I got no answer for that one. It's probably not going to happen, babe. Sorry. Not for anything, any personal reason. I just can't imagine that either one of us would get an invite, but okay. So doing
George Costanza. My bad. That's funny. That's funny. You know what, Rao? I'm gonna say it like they say it. If you have to ask, you can't afford it. So if you don't know who George I'm talking about, then yes, George Costanza it is.
It's crazy when you think about like, and I'm going to try not to forget my initial thought now, but now that I'm on this train, like thinking about a show like Seinfeld, right? And how popular Seinfeld had been, right? And that Jerry Seinfeld is such a rabid Zionist asshole that I don't even want to see his face on anything, much less invest 1 second of my life ever again watching that show. I mean, between the meltdown that Kramer had, was that like 10, 15 years ago?
Oh, but the I'm sorry to cut you off, but the best part of that meltdown for me, to your point about Seinfeld, was when Seinfeld tried to clean it up for him on Letterman, and couldn't and was clearly himself falling apart because he wasn't able to control what was happening. And he wanted to defend. He was trying to even stop people from laughing. He was like, "This is serious. This is serious." Like, all right, Jerry.
Right.
With your
so we should have, like I should have known. I should have known then that I didn't have anything to do, like that I didn't want to have anything to do with a Seinfeld. And so like, it's just gotten plausibly worse. It's just gotten worse since then. Like somebody caught him on, I think it was like a reel, and somebody was like, "Free Palestine," and he like froze, and he was like, "Oh no," and he like ran away from the person, and I was like, Lord.
No, he is The only thing that I remember him getting right was when he was in one of those public roundtables with other comedians, and he was one of like the only white ones to say that he would not use the N-word.
Well, at least there's that.
When Louis C.K. and all of them were like, "Oh, come on, Jerry!" Oh, and even Chris Rock was there, basically giving him permission. He was the one guy that was like, "You know what? I don't think that's the line we should cross." But other than that, he's also, by the way, he and Kramer have also, by the way, ruined what I think is a far better show for me, which is Curb Your Enthusiasm. So I've even tried recently to go back and because I thought that was actually the better show that the co-creator of Seinfeld did, Larry David, somewhat about his life. And here comes Seinfeld. They actually have the Seinfeld reunion on that show. They have a Kramer they try to rehabilitate him on that show using JB Smoove, the black comedian. So it's kind of like, it just ruined the whole, I can't even, but it goes to the point we've been making a lot here lately that in one way or another that yeah, you did a funny TV show for a while, and we can on some level even appreciate that, but that doesn't mean we want to hear anything from you about anything else. And we definitely don't want your thoughts on Zionism. I definitely don't want your dating and marital advice with your teenage love interests. And we don't, and that's it. All you did was a little bit of funny, a little bit, many years ago, and enough already. But
basically like enough.
Yeah. And
so
did you remember your point?
Yes, I did actually.
Good.
So where I was really going with this whole thought process is, we can't, like, I can't go to Palestine and do anything in Gaza. But what I can do is every single day when I walk out my house, make sure that I'm wearing one of my keffiyehs, right? I can, if someone asks me a question, I can answer the question. I cannot hesitate if someone says something that's totally outlandish to confront it in that moment and respond to it in that moment. I can accept whatever pushback is going to come to me for being a person who is willing to say, like, Palestinians should live, right? Like, there's no, that's it. Like, that's the line. Like, if anything is going to result in the opposite of the Palestinians living and thriving and surviving, then I'm not going to support that, right? And so these are the things, we talked about it yesterday, like the constant push from all of these outside private entities, these little secret squirrel shadow things, is to get you to police yourself, right? To get you to silence yourself, to get you to be quiet in a situation where you could say something because you're afraid of whatever is going to be the pushback that comes to you. And so we talked about it yesterday, and I'll say it again today. Like, I want people to be brave enough to take any risk, right? Like, you don't have to, and I've said this too, like, I know it's a big ask, right? Like, it's a big ask, but there has to be some way that in any scenario, you can do the thing that's the right thing to do, even if it presents you with a possible risk of whatever could come, right? You don't have to take the biggest risk, but you could take a small risk, right? Like, we just have to start. That's it. Like, we just have to start doing it. And that's just it. Like, I can't be silent, and I can't abide by, like, oh, well, I just don't want anybody to look at me funny. Like, I don't care about that anymore. Rouse says, I need to figure out how to wrap a keffiyeh because I watch videos and my hands just can't make it work. I end up not wearing them when I put on a coat, sadly. So I will say, Raul, that there are places that sell keffiyehs that are
my bad.
No, you're good. They're kerchief size, so you can wrap it around. Like, I have one and I use it as a headband. So they do sell those. right? So yeah, there you go. There's an option for you for people. I just wear mine as a scarf and just it's whatever. Like it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I just was thinking this is again why I keep wanting to advocate something as simple as something akin to the after party, because the point for me is it's theoretically at least legal and simple and even anonymous to cast a vote for a certain party or politician. So it's in some way just trying to find the easiest way for people to support politics they claim they want to represent without even feeling like they have to rise to the level of a Renee and wear a keffiyeh everywhere. They could simply have someone they could legitimately vote for in a party that would actually enact some policies of decolonization and redistribution. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we gonna figure it out. I figure at the least if we spend the amount of energy and time and effort that you and I and folks on this channel take, and it's not just, you know, um, Ajamu came on when I was on Remix. I covered on Wednesday last week, I think, and Ajamu came on, and he wrote an article about Palestine being kind of the moral battle, right? And now Venezuela being the political battle. Like if you think you can say like free Palestine, but then turn around and say but Maduro, right? Like we're still having a problem here with regard to your understanding of empire and imperialism and all of those things that need to be deeply, deeply addressed. And so, when I hear often a lot from people like, oh, like if all you're talking about is Palestine, like what about the other places? And I want people to understand that Palestine
What did we just?
as only it's like, oh, did I go? Did I go?
There was
Am I good?
some glitch with the audio or something. Yeah, but you're here.
Okay. So, Palestine is like at the center. It's like the core of how empire is working against a specific group of oppressed people, and the way that they're doing it is now going to spread. Like if we allow it in Palestine, it's just a matter of, and it's already spreading. Like I don't mean to make it sound like this is some future endeavor that we're trying to prevent from happening, right? Like people need to understand that the same technological devices that are working on the walls in Palestine and Israel are the same ones that are on the walls in Arizona, between Arizona and Mexico, but not Arizona, California and Mexico, right? So these are things that are already in place, right? We already have police being trained by IDF forces. We already have these surveillance things that are happening that exist because they were built in Israel, tested against the Palestinians, and then brought here and sent to other places, not just here, other places, right? We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I really want people to read the Palestine Laboratory so that they can understand how far reaching the technology is and the core purpose of that technology, which is to just spread oppression and imperialism, right? Like, so it's important, not for the sake of just saying like all we care about is Palestine. We care about Palestine because Palestine is at the core of understanding how oppression works in all places, right?
Do you mind if we take a slight detour? Because I'd like to actually answer 2F's comment about my nice new pad and the
Yes.
cost of living increase that I've gotten here. And it relates to our topic because I know we're talking about, well, today and more broadly, as Ajamu said, the unmasking of imperialism and colonialism, and the surveillance, as we're going to get to, of pro-Palestinian activists and activism. And I just watched a recently, at least, I don't know when it was produced, but released on YouTube within the last couple of weeks, documentary about the co-founder of Palantir, Alex Karp, who has done what I've been joking, but I've decided I would do, which has led to my new setup here over the years, which is I'm going to use my particular biraciality to ensconce myself in empire. And I said some time ago that at once I realized we weren't going to have this revolution, I was going to write my book, How Obama Changed My Life, and how I moved from a Black radical nationalist, internationalist, et cetera, and so forth, into a multiracial Democrat. I was going to, get this paycheck. Well, Alex Karp has lived this life apparently. And if I could, I just want to share this brief section of this documentary about the co-founder of Palantir, and who is allegedly the left wing opposite of his good friend, the right wing prescient discoverer of the oncoming Antichrist, Peter Thiel. And yeah, so but with this blueprint that Karp has, because again, remember, Karp is self-defines as a Jew, though some of us might raise an eyebrow at that, given that his father is a Jew, not his mother, so therefore technically he can't be down with the tribe. But his mother, more importantly perhaps, is a Black woman who he seems to have wanted to distance himself from, and allegedly the left-wing politics that he was raised in. So I just want to share this brief excerpt, and this will explain to 2Fs and everyone else why I'm now living the way I'm living, and this is the life I am intending to follow behind it.
Da steht sozusagen ganz links an der Seite.
In this photo, he's
steht
standing
auch,
over, even though he's part of
Volk ist, aber doch so etwas für sich.
I'm reading because some of this is in German, because he taught himself German, that is Karp, and went and studied and got a PhD in Frankfurt. So they're interviewing people who knew him when he was there, and that's him over there with the half fro, Jew fro, and being talked about here as he likes to stand. He's part of the group, but stands apart from the group.
Ganz gute optische Illustration.
And that's a pretty good visual representation of his role.
Das ist das, was ich meine.
There was always a kind of don't touch me aura around him.
So eine kleine Aura von rühr mich nicht an. Es gab immer so ein.
It's always there's me and then there's the others.
Es ist eine Identität,
to some extent, it's an identity that comes out
aus der ständigen Möglichkeit,
of the constant risk of no longer belonging.
Sich aufbaut. Wenn sagt, ich bin,
if he says he's half Black or half African American, then
oder so,
he's saying something about his mother.
Über seine Mutter. Ich habe ihm versprochen,
he made me promise not to tell anyone.
Nicht erwähne und niemandem sage. Ich denke, es kann
It's
sein,
possible
dass
that in his mind he was trying to protect
Fantasie
his mother.
seine Mutter schützen wollte. Ja, und sowas kann ich mir vorstellen. Und
this is his Philadelphia home where he grew up, but I think it all goes back to this underlying fear that he has.
Dieser Fundamentalangst, von der ich glaube, dass sie irgendwo hat. Die Eltern haben ihn
His parents were careful to raise him,
bedacht erzogen, dass ihm das Bewusstsein
and his brother to know that they were Jewish.
Bewahrt wurde seitens der Eltern.
And I'll just stop there. But what the documentary is suggesting is that this interest in self-identifying as a Jew, as a European, and wanting to be part of or feeling a part of, but also distant, and wanting to suppress or deny the blackness of his mother, allegedly, is part of the process that allows him to perform his quite schizophrenic, if I may say, role in claiming some concern for humanity while also being the leader of this world dominant, militarist, imperialist, surveillance, data collecting technology that, as they say in here, they use metadata to surveil, and it is also metadata that is used to kill people. So all that to say, to two F's, this is the trajectory. I'm on the Alex Karp trajectory, and that's how I funded this new penthouse apartment that I'm broadcasting from. And you know, so eventually, you know, I don't know what's going to happen to Saturdays with Renee, but you know, but yeah. Anyway,
So
but I
people-
thought all that was, yeah.
Just
Oh,
for
I'm not
clarity's sake,
familiar. Oh.
so some people are not familiar with Karp.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So Alex Karp is the founder and CEO of Palantir. Palantir is a technology company that does data collection and surveillance. They are basically, what Palantir does is it collects data from multiple sources and it unifies it in one place so that whoever they sell their technology to can go into the one data source and get technology, surveillance, data, whatever on people from multiple sources. So that's what Palantir is.
And they're also, they do both now, or multiple things. So they collect all the data, but they also now have the technology that will be used, that is used to weaponize that. So they create weapons, they create technology that allows weaponry to be used. They literally, I was quoting actually the former head of the CIA who was in this documentary talking about Palantir, and he was saying, thanking Palantir because he said, we use metadata to kill people. And Alex Karp, who does claim some concern for humanity, and in these professors that he met in Germany are in there talking about how they would like to see him again and wonder how his so-called left-wing politics have held up given where he's headed. But he's all about militarism, warfare, surveillance, and then using the data that will identify threats to national security to then target and kill them. And that's why Palantir is worth at least $400 billion at this point, with all these military contracts. And yeah, so yeah.
Right. And the only reason that I know he's Black is because he was on that list from, we covered it with Two Black that day.
Yeah, one of them.
Whatever company did like the Black rich people.
Right.
There's like 20 people on the list.
Like Forbes Black Billionaires or something like that.
The Forbes Black Billionaires list. Yes. And so he was on that list. So that was when I discovered that he was at least in part Black. But
I think it says a lot. I do armchair psychologize or psychoanalyze those moments because, and I do personalize it. I can't even begin to imagine what it must mean to know that I must deny my parentage to exist in the spaces I want to be in. So I'm not justifying any of his decisions, but I am saying that the level of internal collapse and trauma has to be pretty severe. To the extent that this woman is telling the truth, that he would have even verbalized to her, please don't tell anyone my mother is Black, is wild.
Right.
So and then to hang out with Peter Thiel is like the extreme.
That's
like
a whole other, that's a whole other level of what in the hell. What the hell?
So, but they talk about, one of the things I will say is, because I think this is a good segue, even if we want to use it for that, to what we're getting to, like they talk about in that documentary that his role as being sort of in but not of everything that he's in is that he ends up being used as the symbolic jester, court jester, they even refer him to, the sort of the clown. So he comes in there, with the lanky, skinny body and the frizzy hair, and he just looks so unthreatening. And he sounds even, his mannerisms are, and I don't mean this as derisively, but he's soft. He's just not the threatening figure. And they talk about this as part of how the role he's meant to play. So, you look at a Peter Thiel who looks like what you might envision the personification of the devil might look like. And he has the mannerisms and the personality of that kind of figure. So it's not going to work for him to go into all these spaces and schmooze and kick it in multiple languages and do all this other kind of stuff. But then here comes Karp with that kind of, but but we're going to surveil you and kill you, type of thing. And it's like, everybody's like, yes, we can work with that.
Right.
Fuck that.
I mean, it really is. It's wild when you really think about how the technology is playing this major role in oppressing people from a distance. Like it's some wild stuff happening. And I know, like, once I read a book, it becomes like this thing that kind of lives in my brain until I read the next book. So I'm sure I'll stop talking about the Palestine Laboratory as much when I finish what I've now started, which is the invention of the Jewish people. And so, like, and then there'll be something else. I also have that book about the history of Black women revolutionaries that I'm going to read. So, I've got a list going as per usual. And so, but right now the Palestine Laboratory is fresh in my mind. And I do want you to read it though, because I'd like us to see if we could track down the author and have a conversation about,
let's go,
about this whole thing. But, listen, segue. We didn't get to talk about the article too much yesterday because we were, being barred by Laura and her personal experiences with Canary Mission and how these things actually played out in real time. And Jay, of course, always has like such good insight. But we actually didn't end up talking too much about the article, so we decided to push it to today. And so I don't know how you want to, do you want to go over the article first, talk a little bit about what's in there, and then?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And I'll invite people to see the Patreon special we did on Canary Mission as sort of a part one, because we, even if we wanted to, can't recreate all the bars that Renee was just referencing from Laura and Jared. So please do check that out. And it was largely a discussion of the 4-part series, The Lobby, that Electronic Intifada ended up putting out almost 10 years ago, that had originally been an Al Jazeera documentary, but the backlash prevented Al Jazeera from running it. So Electronic Intifada got it and ran it. It's on their YouTube channel. It's very much worth the watch. And we all talked about it in some detail yesterday. And essentially the point that brings us to this article here is that this project Canary Mission is something used by the Israeli lobby to target and to create narratives around defending Israel and targeting pro-Palestinian activists for doxing, for suppression, and all forms of other things here. So please check that out. And then we ended up wanting to talk more about this article on Drop's site called Blacknest, Inside Canary Mission's Secret Web of Unlisted Sites, which is, again, very revealing in terms of the goals and concerns here. I'll add this to the show description, where folks will now be able to find that Alex Karp documentary that I just mentioned as well. But yeah, and just quickly here, more and more legacy media brands. Oh, I'm sorry, that's actually a promo for the Drop Site, which is a good site, so support Drop Site. One Canary Mission affiliated website, Blacknest, reveals the group's internal operations, plans to expand, and how they celebrate deportations and firings. So this is a sort of summary of what their goals are and what they attempt to do. That is this Canary Mission group in advocating and pro-Zionist and Zionist entity narratives, and then, as they say here, attack the messenger and not the message. And that was a lot of our discussion about the lobby yesterday, that is ultimately the goal here, that they can claim things about facts and evidence and data driven this and that, but the real goal is to not engage the message or the arguments, but to target the messengers themselves. And as the article says here, notorious pro-Israel doxing outfit Canary Mission has an army of anonymous doxers, international tech vendors, marketing plans, and a secret website called Blacknest, where the group celebrates deportations and firings as company impact metrics, according to a collection of unlisted websites discovered by Drop Site. The goal is to influence U.S. policy by targeting and pro-Palestinians, and then says, they say here, punishing Americans for pro-Palestinian speech via doxing. And just in case anybody is not aware, doxing is when you put out people's public information, their real names, addresses, phone numbers, places of employment, and encourage people to harass them, and sometimes even worse. They're getting into pressure campaigns and encourage and look to get people arrested and deported, and consider themselves allies of the State Department. And this is just an example of their how they schedule. So it's kind of hard to read, but it's just basically them scheduling out their harassment. They have department popcorn hours and content strategy, and they kind of hang out and let's figure out who we're going to target and have to the extent possible ruin their lives. They have profiles and editorial teams that they use to again very meticulously organize how they attack people in the public sphere. These are some of the campaigns that they've targeted at various universities, indigenous rights and Palestinian youth movement activists in particular. They've called out the English rap group that we've talked about here a couple times, Bob Villain, who called out the Zionist entity and called for called out chants, death to the IDF at their concerts. The group lists bullet points in the target section of the document, anonymity as a tool to scare the enemy, bottom-up approach using individuals to take down orgs. We change the behavior of the enemy. We are the adult in the room. And this stuck out to me as, very much like what they argument around historically around propaganda. The goal isn't to change the conditions, but to change the attitudes of people to the conditions. So change the behavior of the enemy, not obviously engage them in a principled way and recreate them as not enemies, as human beings, but yeah. So anyway, that's my relatively quick summary, and I'll stop there. And
yeah, I mean, so one of the things that I think stood out the most for me is how long this has been happening. So Canary Mission first emerged in 2015. It's been going now. I mean, it's 2026 now, so we're now, we're now over a decade out from this initial like website creation, and the real key for Canary Mission, which has at this point now failed because stuff is starting to come out, is it was all being done in secrecy. Like they didn't want anyone to know who was really behind the website. They didn't want people to know what was going on. One of the things they talk about in another article that I read is like the pains that they go to make sure that when they post screenshots that they remove the person who's interacting on that specific social media space. So they don't want their own people to get doxxed, right? Because these are people who are faking as if they are pro-Palestinian, against Zionism, against apartheid, against genocide, faking it within a social media space so that they can share the information that's being presented in these multiple spaces. And so a key to that is the anonymity for them. They have to remain very secretive and private because they don't want to get kicked out of these spaces, because how else do they know what the pro-Palestinian movement is doing if they're not, embedded within it? So I thought that was very interesting. And, this whole idea of, it's about the messenger, not the message. And we talked about this yesterday, and I think it's worth kind of revisiting, like the blatant dismissal of what is actually happening amongst these people, right? Like the blatant, like, well, we don't care really about what's happening to the Palestinians. We don't care really about the land. We don't care, we don't care about any of these things. We just want to make sure that if you have the audacity to care about these things and to say that you care about these things, that we come after you in such a way that you stop talking about caring about these things. It is the wildest, like that's what we're like that's the plan. That's what we're doing. And I think that's why at the start of today, I talked so much about even if it's something little, right? Like the thing that's the least risk to you, but may make a difference, like do that thing, because the goal is for you to not do it, right? The real fear of all of these shadow organizations of everything is that people will stop being compliant with the things that are not beneficial to them, that people will stop, just kind of pushing through on and going through the struggle and the motions on their hamster wheel, that they'll stop doing that in order to say, like, this is like something's wrong here and we need to do something about it. And it could be me, the audio. I don't know. It's possible. I can't hear myself. So
I don't hear anything wrong, so I'm not sure what the issue is. But I don't hear any issues on my end. So I don't know. Do others hear? Yeah, it might just be that person. So
I, of course, dug a little deeper because, that's what we do here. And part of what had me on this little journey of trying to figure out what's happening is because some of the school's response to Canary Mission and the actions of these shadow groups and what is happening in response to these organized efforts to shut down the pro-Palestinian movement has been very interesting. Right. And like Laura told a story yesterday about, like someone calling her and saying like, oh, yo, like your face is on one of these trucks. And her response being like, I'm not even there. Like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, you do, you do something about it. Right. And so as I've been following, so let me back up a second. So last spring, the federal government had put on this big show about coming after anti-Semitism. There was a letter that Trump sent out, and I think there's actually a link to the letter that Trump sent, to let schools know that if they were going to, be compliant with anti-Semitism, which wasn't really anti-Semitism, it's actually anti-Zionism, but we'll leave that there for the moment, that they were going to lose their federal funding. And so the administration sent out this letter, and it was this list of demands and what they wanted schools to do. So they wanted schools to, start making sure that, of course, we disregarded DEI, and for all my arguments about how DEI does very little to support most Black people. At least some people were getting in with the help of it. And so that was one thing. They had to start sharing the admissions data. They were going to go back to requiring standardized tests. As many people may or may not know, standardized testing became, not required, but something you could turn in depending on, how your scores look. But they would evaluate your admissions based on everything but your test score, because, as people may or may not know, the testing is not actually a good means to determine. Then they started going into the international students, the vibrant marketplace of ideas on campus with no dominant political ideology, which actually means we want you to embrace the right and stop embracing all of these other things. Must abolish departments which purposefully punish, belittle, and even spark violence against conservative ideas. They're going to freeze tuitions, which actually I'm not too mad about that one. We could go ahead and freeze the tuitions. And then endowments. I don't think I even read this last bullet. I feel like this looks unfamiliar to me. The institutions with endowments exceeding $2 million per undergrad student should waive tuition fees for students enrolled in hard science programs, which basically means if you have a program that's going to help us make weapons, then you should waive.
Then you should be able to go to Harvard, Yale, Cornell, Brown, Dartmouth, Princeton for free.
But only if it's going to result in us getting better weapons.
Because $2 million. Oh, with endowments exceeding $2 million per undergraduate student. So I don't know how you would exactly calculate that, but Yale's endowment I think was up to $50 billion.
Yeah, that's a big. That would be a lot, I think, for some.
No, I think we're still talking about those same universities, but they're basically saying, you should be able to go to the most elite universities for free if you're willing to study military weaponry, adjacent fields. And we've talked about it again several times. Like, this is part of the at times funny contradictions of what this awful group are doing, that they are attacking a lot of the liberal counterinsurgent institutions that we have all been critical of in various ways for a long time. And it's to me, and why I think it's important the way you and others continue to remind us that this didn't just start with Trump and the most right of the right wing, that these institutions are themselves liberal, democratic, neoliberal counterinsurgent operations that many on the real left have been critical of for a long time. So, and they've all been complicit in all of this. And one of the reasons why there is a section of the other article you wanted us to look at that talks about the universities that basically caved is because they've been living off of the trough of federal contracts, intelligence agency, military contracts for a long, long time, and they've had no problem with it. And now, in this very, again, oddly contradictory way, they're being criticized and challenged, and they're like, nah, we can't let that go.
Right.
Right. So.
And so underneath this is the list of schools that received the letter. And it's, of course, it's like I thought like University of Arizona. I'm like, is University of Arizona big enough to be on this list?
I know it's big, but I thought it's usually referenced as a party school.
Right. But you
don't know.
Yeah, you got the Ivies on there. You have MIT on there, USC, Texas, Vanderbilt, UVA. I have a particular disdain for UVA, actually, just so we're all I'm not
mad at that.
I have a particular disdain for them because it's a state school. Like, it's a public state university. And I just want UVA to stop pretending like it's a private school. You are a public state funded university. like cut the shit.
Well, let's add to the hate, because we should remember that university only exists because Thomas Jefferson wanted a specifically pro-slavery university that would challenge Harvard. So that's why they're trying to live like they're not public, and that's why they are who they are. So, you know, let's just pile on the hate.
Right. I just when I used to work in Virginia, like the absolute like snobbishness. I was like, if y'all don't stop, you're a public school.
Well,
just stop.
That's the state that arrested me and sent me into the military. So that's how I always remember them.
You know what's so interesting? We never had that conversation, because that is also where I spent the night in prison, was in Virginia.
See?
So look at that.
that damn state. That's why Nat Turner. That's why Nat Turner did what he had to do, because he was like, I hate this place.
Woo, my one night. So, and this is an older article, so people know this is from last year, early in the year, actually. And when there was really this push and the federal government was suing schools and pulling funding and, you know, doing all these things, Harvard had released their two-part report on, one was on anti-Semitism, one was on anti-Muslim and Arab and Palestinian behaviors. Turns out that what the report found is that, you know, the anti-Semitism was people not wanting to go to brunch with Zionists, and the anti-Muslim behavior was actually like, you can't get across campus, you're getting attacked, anywho. And so so this was the initial kickoff, and I want people to understand that we're starting here because there is a set of things that happened in response to these specific demands and this letter that went out from the current administration. However, do not forget that all of the encampments occurred in 2024, which was under the Biden administration. And it was the Biden administration that pushed schools and organizations to shut down the encampments, to not support them. So, you know, I don't want anyone to be, you know, misled in any shape or form of belief that, you know, this kicked off because of Trump. This did not kick off because of Trump. Okay. So moving on now. So in response, schools started doing things, right? So you had Columbia, which immediately capitulated, if I remember correctly. They played for like a second as if they, you know, they were going to do something different, but they actually didn't. And then some other schools followed. This article, and thank you, Jared, for finding it for me, I found this morning, and this is the most recent article that I could find regarding how universities are still dealing, because this is an ongoing issue. So these are the response. This is what's happening now with regard to these threats and, you know, basically the bullying that's happening from the federal government and how the universities are responding. Now, it's a New York Times article, which I cannot read. I sent it to Jared. Jared was able to get it to open. So I'll let you take back over, Jared.
Yeah, no, I salute to Archive, you know, and so, yeah, how universities are responding to Trump. President Trump has set his sights on defunding colleges, singling out some of the world's wealthiest schools, and what critics say is an attack on academic freedom. Some are negotiating, others are saying no. So this is from January 6th. A handful of schools, Brown, Columbia, Cornell, Northwestern, the University of Pennsylvania, and University of Virginia, have made deals with the administration. Some have agreed to pay millions of dollars to restore research funds and end federal investigations. So yeah, let's see. Which schools have been targeted with funding cuts since 2025? They've targeted Brown, Columbia, Cornell, Duke, Harvard, Northwestern, Penn, Princeton, and the University of California, Los Angeles. So again, these are huge institutions with enormous budgets and endowments. The schools that have made deals, first, Penn agreed to implement certain policies around transgender people in athletics and to apologize in effect for the trans athlete Leah Thomas's participation on its women's swim team several years ago. The agreement included no financial penalties. Columbia, faced with accusations of anti-Semitism, agreed to a suite of policy changes as well as a $200 million fine. Brown cut a similar deal, though its $50 million payout was going to be directed towards state workforce development. Cornell agreed to pay $60 million over 3 years. And they had like a $14 billion endowment when I was there 20 some years ago. So who knows what, if they'll even feel that. But yeah, Northwestern agreed $75 million. Virginia reached a settlement with the government months after its president exited. The terms of agreement included a pledge from Virginia to follow the Trump administration's interpretation of a 2023 Supreme Court decision that essentially ended affirmative action as long as that guidance was consistent with relevant judicial decisions. Trump's biggest target, Harvard. The university is roughly $9 billion at stake in its fight with the federal government, and it's the country's richest university, trying to hold on to $9 billion of that roughly, 40 billion?
Something absurd like that.
Yeah. They cut off, the Trump administration began cutting off funds. Harvard sued the administration. A federal judge in Boston broadly ruled in Harvard's favor, and research money is largely flowing again. Listen, they said recently that Morgan State University was worth $15 billion to the GDP of Maryland. So I can't then begin to imagine. I'll go back and check that number, but I can't begin to imagine what Harvard must mean to Boston and the broader state's GDP. So I would be shocked if they found a judge in Boston that ruled against Harvard. Like, son. Anyway, but the administration's onslaught goes beyond research funding. The university is confronting an array of investigations, some of which Harvard officials fear could be full-blown criminal inquiries. Imagine, I mean, again, a federally, an impeached multiple felon president is going to bring up what is likely an equally felonious university. This is, I mean, on some level, like, this is... I mean, I can't help it a little bit. If this were all happening in the context of an actual left-leaning administration, that would be
right. It'd be a totally different right.
Because you could be saying, look, you got all these hundreds of millions and billions. Let's just start with Boston. Why is anybody suffering in Boston? Let's just start right there with an immediate project of the local community and even just the state of Massachusetts. And, you could, I mean, the ideas would be endless, but, and if there is a positive, I would say, let those who claim to be in opposition to Trump bring this kind of energy to their administrations. Like, if you really are about all of that DEI and peace and equality and closing wealth gaps, come on with this kind of energy when you get into office. The administration has frequently claimed that the targeted schools harbor anti-Semitism, which of course we know has to be a front for all these other, whatever all the other reasons. Although, I don't know, to be fair, it makes sense maybe then that they would feel that way given the ramping up of the genocide in Gaza. But anyway, when a protest movement against Israel's war in Gaza swept campuses around the country 2024, for example, some of the most volatile scenes unfolded at Columbia. But the roots of the administration's hostility are deeper than the turmoil tied to that war. Conservatives have looked askance at elite echelons of higher education for decades, disturbed by affirmative action admissions programs, high tuition costs, and the views of liberal professors and the proliferation of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives on campuses. So all that weaponry and warmongering and right-wing conservative research and analysis and all of that, none of that was good enough, huh? You know,
Right.
And
you know, the best thing, and I don't want to derail the article too much, but these accusations are so nonsensical. All of these schools have been turning on their people, right? Like they turn in their staff members, they turn over their student data, they shut down any attempt to do anything, they cancel appearances by speakers, they shut down student organization. Like these schools are not aligned with the pro-Palestinian movement in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Period. Right? So like this whole thing of like, you know, they're allowing the anti-Semitism, you know, this is all bullshit, right? And what they really want is for the schools that could actually be supportive of their students, because there are schools that are pulling funding, but they can't go after those schools because they're smaller, right? Like it's not gonna, but if you get a Harvard to back down, if you get a UPenn to back down, if you get a Columbia to back down, you get a smaller school to think twice about whether or not they want to put themselves in this position. So again, it's about the fear, it's about going after the messenger, it's about getting people to police themselves. You know, it's about that versus being about actually creating an environment in which people can learn to think and learn to argue responsibly and learn to research and learn critical thinking skills. Like, you know, the damn all of that, right? Like that's not that's not the point.
This has been going on for a long time. Obviously, the battles over universities and the claim that they're liberal, you know, fonts of revolutionary, this, that, and third. All that they've ever done at minimum was offer a handful of people in this country, mostly, you know, middle class and up and mostly white, a few years, a few brief moments to think for a few seconds about someone else in a slightly different way. That's and the fear that minimum has caused among the right or been used as a platform plank among the right has been wild. They have never been anything other than about producing. I mean, all of the ruling elite come through these institutions. I mean, that's part of what I think is funny. You know, this guy here, you know, Mark Rowan, who writes this compact for excellence in higher education that is being used to basically bribe universities to bow down to Trump. He himself comes out of UPenn and Wharton, and you know, like, you know, they come out of these institutions, and then they want to act like, because for just like Peter Thiel. I mean, a lot of Peter Thiel's origin story at Stanford is that even though as a rich white gay man, he had to confront other mostly rich white and a few gay others who wanted just a few little rights for that community to speak out for itself. That was enough to begin like his well, not really begin. I mean, he's basically born into colonialism and Nazism, but that like pushed him over his own edge in his life to be like, I got to spend 5 minutes of my life around, again, mostly rich white folks who don't really disagree with me that much, but who just might want a few others to be involved and maybe a little bit of a social safety net. And it's like, oh no, we got to go into antichristism and palantirism and and destroy. And then this guy, Mark Rowan, even, you know, did the whole thing, you know, I was just looking at his Wikipedia page. He did the whole boycott universities because they let pro-Palestinian poets gather, and so we got to defund them all. So like this is so, but that's really what it is, though. That's it.
Right.
They're psychopaths.
Once
That's
we
it.
finish this article, there's
Yeah.
one about UPenn that we should circle back to because it's pretty interesting.
Sure.
But why don't we finish this one first,
I
and
mean,
then we'll go on.
that was basically it there. That just as you were saying that they want to hold funding over these universities, they want to limit the amount of international students, they want to threaten. Really, it's about just as you said, it's about threatening all of the potential in students and faculty to raise voices critical of what, for the most part, those universities are doing. Because again, for the most part, these universities are bastions of intelligence agency, militarism, and at best mainstream thought, with a lot of conservative inducements, and yes, a handful of left-wing thinkers that happen to be there, but have absolutely no power and no control over the institutions themselves. So it's yeah, but yeah. So
there's that. It's just, but UPenn, the article on UPenn that I found, and this article is also from this year, is very interesting because there's some. So you have to wonder when you see what is happening on UPenn and who is supporting UPenn, like how these things play out the way that they play out, because this is some wild stuff. So part of the agreement that some of these schools are doing is they're allowing these deep probes into this faculty and the students so that they can, quote unquote, research the anti-Semitism and see what they can find out. So students and faculty at UPenn are pushing back to say, we don't want our private information to be given to these government agencies because, one, we don't know what the government agency is going to do with that information, and two, this could be dangerous for us. Like, I thought the whole point of these probes were to stop anti-Semitism. So why are you leaving me like open to these things? But as you read some of these articles, one of UPenn's biggest supporters that gives millions to UPenn is a Zionist.
Wow. Yeah. Just the headline: Jewish students, faculty at University of Pennsylvania seek to limit EEOC's anti-Semitism probe, from the 13th of this year. Reuters, Daniel Weissner. Groups representing Jewish faculty and students at the University of Pennsylvania on Tuesday moved to block the EEOC from forcing the school to disclose their personal information, which they said would threaten their safety. So the groups filed a motion in federal court to intervene in the case in November, which says Penn flouted a subpoena seeking a list of members of Jewish-related campus groups and the names of employees at the Ivy League school's Jewish Studies program. So they're saying that the probe that is looking into anti-Semitism on the campus would be too invasive into their own privacy.
Yes.
In determining who then are Jews, and therefore who was
yes.
justified in claiming suffering anti-Semitic violence or hostility.
Yes.
Wow. The EEOC is investigating alleged anti-Semitic conduct at the university, but the groups on Tuesday said the forced disclosure of their names and contact information could harm the very people the agency is seeking to protect. Compiling and turning over the government list of Jews conjures a terrifying history, wrote lawyers. Yeah, I'm sorry. Give me the list of Jews so we can know who to defend, says the University of Pennsylvania. Yeah, no shit. Again, it's the fun I've been having with our reverse hashtag community, and they're friends with Tucker Carlson lately. Friendship with Tucker Carlson, like, this is the kind of nonsense. It's like, whose team you really want to be on? Are you really saying to my Jewish family? Are you really saying you want to be on team UPenn? You sure? You sure you want to be on team? Remember, remember the intelligence agency community, if you read the a lot of the foundational documents and the biographies of the founders, the William O. Sullivans and all of that, these are very Gentile spaces. That's whose team you want to be on? You're going to run to Trump? I'm sorry.
Right. Right. But it's absurd. It's absurd.
Oh my goodness. Oh man, I wasn't ready for that level of contradictory humor this morning or this afternoon.
Sorry.
On this fine Saturday afternoon. Let's see. Penn and many other schools have faced scrutiny for their handling of campus protests over the Israel-Hamas war.
Yeah,
Is that what Reuters is calling this?
Yes.
So we're not doing even fake professional objectivity now? Israel-Hamas war. Oh my God. An alleged incidents of anti-Semitism by students and staff. Penn's president, Liz McGill, resigned in 2023 after she declined during a congressional hearing to definitively say whether calling for the genocide of Jews violated the school's code of conduct. Is that really how that went?
If I remember correctly, yeah. Yeah.
So why was she struggling? Like, was she struggling with the claim that it was the genocide of Jews, or was she really struggling to say that we don't have a problem genociding Jews?
She was struggling because the reality is saying like Palestine has a right to exist, Palestinians have a right, is not equal. And so I think she was trying to figure out the way to not claim that people who are pro-Palestinian are seeking for the genocide of the Jewish people, but at the same time, like not say the whole thing, you know, it's the same, like, do you condemn Hamas? Like, this is the wrong question, right? It's the wrong question.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So yeah, they need the information, and without the information that is the list of Jews, it cannot contact employees exposed to anti-Semitic conduct. How else are they supposed? The prospect that the subpoena or similar future subpoena could be enforced will chill the Jewish community members' willingness to join and participate in these organizations for years to come. Wow. The case is signed to the district court. Yeah.
So this was one interesting article. I dropped the one in the private chat because I realized this was the other article that actually highlights this massive contradiction within UPenn. And I thought it was on our spreadsheet, but it's not there. So I don't know. There's a gap on the spreadsheet. So maybe I thought I dropped it in, but I actually didn't.
So The Intercept, pro-Israel group that attacked UPenn, was funded by family of UPenn trustee. From April 2025, Eli Clifton. The University of Pennsylvania has been a target of Canary Mission, a pro-Israel blacklist group. Turns out the call was coming from inside the house. Wow. So let's see. The page, unbeknownst to the University of Pennsylvania Foundation, tied to the secretive Canary Mission. For some members of the Penn community,
go up one more. Go up to the paragraph above.
Okay, right. According to a tax document, the Israel-based Canary Mission received $100,000 in 2023 from the Nathan and Lydia Pesach Family Foundation, whose treasurer is Jamie Pesach, the husband of Penn trustee Cheryl Pesach. Cheryl, Jamie, and Penn did not respond for requests for comment.
So imagine.
Wow.
Right? They're paying money to an organization for whom the money is being tracked and managed by the person who was married to the trustee of the organization of the school that organization is attacking. Like, talk about eating yourself. Like, what is happening right now?
Wait a minute. Say that again.
So treasurer. So they gave. So this organization gave $100,000 to Canary Mission.
Right.
the treasurer of that organization giving the $100,000 is married to the trustee at UPenn.
Right.
So they are literally funding the attempted attack on the organization of her own family member who worked. Like, the whole thing is wild. So it makes one really question what is actually happening here, right? Because there is no way that an organization that's giving $100,000 to Canary Mission, like, why is your trustee involved with anything that has something to do with an organization that's attacking the university?
And according to tax filings, the family foundation has given more than $1 million in the last 5 years to the university.
Exactly.
So is it the idea that they're going to get paid at both ends? That as a family and as a foundation, they get money from the university, from the state, from the investors in the university, and then they get money from those critical of the. It reminds me again of what is, I think, one of Eddie Murphy's most underrated films, Distinguished Gentleman, and he's sitting down when he's learning the lobbying game, and the white dude he's sitting with is telling him, you know, well, how do you feel about this issue? If you feel A about this issue, we'll get you money from this wing of that issue. If you feel B about this issue, we'll get you money from that wing. So you just let me know. And that's, you know, and if so, it's like, and then if they get some sort of payout, if they win, if Canary Mission wins some sort of payout from the university, then they get a piece of that too. I don't know. I mean, I don't. Maybe they're like, I don't know. Maybe they're at home. Maybe Renee, they're at home and as a family having legitimate principled debates at the dinner table in disagreement with one another. I'm telling you, Dre, it's an underrated movie, Distinguished Gentleman.
You know, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. It might be a time to rewatch.
And you know who's in that movie? Abbott Elementary's Cheryl Lee Ralph is in that movie.
That's right.
So yet another reason to see that movie, revisit it. We should all revisit it.
We should revisit it. Might be time to get the review crew back. Yeah, although the list got real long and we flashed bad. We've fallen off and everybody's gotten busy. Started series and all this whatnot, you know. So yeah, but we could just file it away. You know, when I think they're going to do the Imperial 90s, maybe we could pop up because I think that would be a nice quiet addition to what is, I'm sure, a packed list for the Imperial 90s. But you know, definitely.
But you know, I think people should. Yeah, it's a deep cut, man. I'm telling you, people, you know, don't sleep.
Yeah. There's just so much. I don't know. I just keep circling back to like how do we impress upon people the importance of not allowing the very real work of making you afraid to actually like take heed.
That's why Dre is calling you out again. Dre is on he's pressing us. You got to see one battle after another. He's determined.
He is. And you know what? And I'm not mad at him because the reality is that, you know, it does need to be dissected in a way that probably is not going to happen too often, especially now that it's having this whole like battle with the Emmy thing. You know.
Oh wait, I don't know about that. What? There's a battle it's having?
Well, I mean, people are mad because one battle got the award, and people thought Sinners should have got the award, and you know they all suck in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, you know, like Battle getting the chick from Battle getting the award to me is very much like when, what's her face?
Halle Berry.
When Halle Berry got the award
Monsters
for being
Ball.
a crackhead, right?
Oh,
Like,
no, Monsters Ball was the one she got the award for.
right, but wasn't she a crackhead?
Oh,
Wasn't
no.
she like a recovering addict with the
Oh,
baby and the whole thing? Wasn't right?
so
Like she,
I always remember her as the crackhead from Jungle Fever.
right? But she, you know,
But yeah,
yeah. But she was also like the recovering, you know. So there's this whole thing happening now with this whole like, you know, we're gonna the whites are gonna give the blacks something shiny, and the blacks should be very excited that the whites gave them something shiny. And so Dre is adamant that I watch the movie, even though I've told everybody that my goal is to go to my grave without watching this movie. Like that was the end goal. And now I feel like it's a losing battle now because I just don't know if I'm going to be able to avoid it. And so, and plus I enjoy Dre's accent. And so I just feel like, you know, it's
that's what I was trying to remember. She was a crackhead in Losing Isaiah too. And that movie was another violent assault on the psyche of any of us who watched it. That movie was
right.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. They yeah. Yeah.
And then Intume sending like memes of her like pregnant with the gun and Elmer Fudd, and I really just didn't want to, but I guess I'm gonna have to suffer.
There is no scene like a scene when Jungle Pussy is standing up on top of a car shooting a machine gun saying, "This is what Black Power looks like." I mean, what could you say? Like
Dre is, I'm gonna watch the damn movie.
Not one Renee ignoring a terrible film after another. That's messed up. That's messed up.
All right. I give
I'm sorry. What? Oh, you're not familiar with Jungle Fever? It's like Psychedelia 98. Was 98 your birth year? Are you not familiar with Jungle Fever? Congratulations if you've avoided it.
I actually think it was the question about her name in the movie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, forgive my language, but I quoted it accurately. And that is her name in real life too, as a rapper, I believe. They just took that name and put it in the film because Paul Thomas Anderson said he liked it that much. He said he liked her name that much and liked her that much that he just saw her and threw her in there just like that. And I was like, that's because this whole film is his. I'm not gonna say anymore. I'm gonna let you see it. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah,
but this whole film is about him. Yeah. And yeah.
All right.
So forgive me, everybody, if that was too much, because I was told it was too much. I said I did a version of that joke yesterday at my own dinner table and got in trouble for that there too. But I was like, sometimes it's important. It's just necessary to say it as it's been said.
I mean, you know, this whole thing about, you know, how Black people.
Weekend embargo on white men making movies. Just a couple of years. Can we just take a break?
But you know what though? It's not just because let's not forget that it is not a white man behind Sinners. I mean, it's white people behind the payment for, but it is not a white man behind Sinners. And so, you know, the problem in general, and actually I was just about to say this, so this works out great. The problem in general is Black people are consistently under assault because we are consistently being told who we are, right? So all of these movies, the music, that like everything is like this constant barrage of trying to tell you who you are as a Black person, right? Like this is what you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to aim for. This is what you're supposed to like. This is, you know, and at the core of this, and me and my mother talk about this a lot, like this whole idea, like being stolen from your actual ancestral land, being removed from it, being cut off from it, cut off from the language, from the culture, from all of these things. And so we are at times, I feel like, as Black people, like adrift, like trying to figure out like what is this like what is this thing that we're supposed to be, because we have been completely cut off, right? Like that's what the ship did. Like it completely cut us off. And so the struggle is real. And so when I see Black people getting excited because they got shiny things from white people to behave in ways that represent what the outer structure of imperialism, colonialism, capitalism, all these things want to tell us we are, I can't.
And listen, I saw Dre mention, you know, Ryan makes a lot of points. He runs with this a lot, that he's from Oakland. And you know, since we're here with somebody who at least lives and has spent time in Newark, not everybody from Newark is Amiri Baraka, not even his own son.
Right.
So the idea that everybody in 2026 in Oakland is walking around like Bobby and Huey,
right,
is crazy. And I've been to Oakland. It's like 3 Bobby and Hueys out there. No, I'm just playing. Not everybody in Oakland is a Black Panther. Okay, so this idea that because Ryan is from Oakland, he could just say that in interviews. I'm from Oakland. You know I'm from Oakland, right? You know what that means, right? Yeah. Right. I know what that means.
I mean, isn't Tim South? Isn't Tim Scott from the South? Like, isn't he actually from South Carolina? Like,
honestly, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
And so, let's not. I really.
What that got to be? What that got to do with anything?
It means nothing in the end, right? And so,
Amiri couldn't even guarantee his own son. And you talk about 3-4 decades later, unrelated to anybody. People are supposed to pop up in Oakland, you know, engaged in the dialectics.
And be excited. You know what? I don't know much about sports. I like this. Shiny things from white people. We should. I actually do like that. Shiny things from white people. But that's how I feel. Like I see these, I can't even enjoy these things, right? Like we're gonna do this like random, like we'll highlight this particular thing so that we can send more people to go see this shitty film, and then we can have people of the belief that like being pregnant and shooting guns on top of a car, you know. It's like, I mean, was it supposed to be like the female version of Denzel Washington with what was it, King Kong? What was it? The cop movie that he did? That he also got. Didn't he also get a shiny thing?
Oh yeah, that? They weren't going to give it to him for Malcolm, even though that was a mess. But Malcolm was the worst political film. But whatever.
It was a mess, but at least he was playing Malcolm, right? Yeah. We waited till he was playing Training Day. That's right. So he was playing the shitty drug dealer. King Kong has nothing on me. Right.
King Kong ain't got nothing on me. But no, it's worse than that, because Training Day never pretended to be anything other than a dirty cop movie. One battle after another is wanting people to think it's something else. And I don't want to keep saying more, because I know I think you might be getting ready to prepare yourself to see it. And I'm
gonna have to. And Dre's never gonna let me live it down, so I'm gonna have to watch it. Oh man, is this movie even worth watching? Martin Hernandez 825. I will let you know next week. I will let you know, because I'm gonna put it on my list of watch the fucking movie, and I'll just.
I'm very interested. I as much as I have my feelings about the film, I will say I am looking forward to you having seen it. And
I almost text you after I watched that other shitty movie, Highest Lowest.
Oh my God.
Because I'm working on a data project, and it's mind-numbingly boring. But so I've been
The
watching.
movie's bad, man. The movie's
So I watched
bad.
it, and I was like, "This is a really shitty movie." Jesus.
It made me, you know how bad it is? It made me yearn for the days where I felt like Spike was at least trying. Like, I think with Do the Right Thing and School Days, I feel like as flawed as they are, and they are, like there was some sort of sense of this was somebody trying. And when I watched Highest to Low, I was like, none of them are trying anymore. It's not, they're not even, this is a celebration of the bag that they have all gotten. And you know, and then I looked up that building he's in is real, and I was even more upset. I was even more upset. That building is real. That's what I'm saying, man. Me and George Costanza.
When you started with this background, that's what made me. I thought of that movie, because that's the
you're right. But yeah, me and George Costanza. That's why, that's why it's to troll us and make us upset. Because this actually is, somebody does live like this right here.
Oh,
if you saw earlier, I accidentally moved the camera so you could see, like, there's my actual. But people live like this for real, and it should be infuriating.
Yeah, I agree.
It should be infuriating.
It should be.
So yeah.
All right, and I totally derailed us. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
So just let me get us back on track. I'm Dre. My last word on this is, after I realize how much I hate this movie, Dre, and we're gonna let Dre come back, because since this is his fault that I'm watching it, he has to come back when we talk about it. But that might be the last time I speak to you. So I hope, Dre, that it's gonna be worth it, that you making me do this. Just saying, for the record.
Yeah. I don't know why Dre is so interested. I mean, but
Anywho, all right. So back to Canary Mission. Sorry for the derailment, y'all. So there's also an article there from Mondaweiss that speaks to Canary Mission and how the government is also utilizing Canary Mission, which I think people should be aware of. And this is also not a newer article. It's an older article from Mondaweiss. I think this is last summer, maybe
July of 2025.
Right.
Yeah.
So last summer. But part of the reason that Canary Mission is allowed to continue is because it's in ways working, right? Like the U.S. government, as these officials are speaking to whoever they're speaking to under oath, are expressing like that they're pulling these lists from Canary Mission. So when oh my goodness.
What?
The one that the drop site article was actually about.
Oh, Blacknest.
So when Blacknest in their work talks about, how they gather to, celebrate when things happen, right? Like, this is what causes those celebrations, because the U.S. government is pulling names from Canary Mission, which is being fed by Blacknest to determine who they should be going after to harass and intimidate. And once again, unfortunately, this is really the core of the problem, right? Because this happens, and so now people are triply afraid of a Canary Mission, because look, it worked, right? Without understanding that, in this particular situation for this young lady, because it speaks specifically about the young woman who was snatched off the street while she was talking to her mother on the phone. Yes, but at the same time, it's done so that now 20 other people who read this story are afraid to do something. Right? Like that's really the purpose, because in the end they had to release her. Right?
Rumeza Ozturk.
Right. And they had to release her in the end. And so, you know, but there's going to be no follow-up on her story, right? Because the goal is for the people who read the story and who understand that the reason they got her name is through Canary Mission to now be afraid of Canary Mission. Like that's the point. That's the purpose of it, right? Because even Mahmoud Khalil, after everything that he went through, and I'm not trying to dismiss or downplay the actual like trauma and harm that happens, right? But Mahmoud Khalil came out and was like, basically like, fuck y'all, I'm still gonna say free Palestine, right? After everything that he went through. And he's still fighting, right? And in fact, yesterday, an appeals court sided with the administration against him. And his response is basically like, all right, well, we still have other things happening in other courts, and we're just going to deal with what comes. Because in the end, fuck you, free Palestine, was his answer, right? I mean, not actually his answer, but you know what I'm saying? And so if people who are literally living through these things are able to say, I am going to keep fighting this fight, then the 50 people who read the article who thought to themselves, oh, I don't know if I want it, like you have to bypass that fear. You have to bypass that fear. Laura said it yesterday, power is arbitrary. Right? Like it's about who you give it to. So one of the things that I've and I really hope that everything in my personal life at some point squares away in a way that like I can like explain to people how things went down in my world, right? But I remember very, very clearly saying to somebody, if everybody, instead of being afraid of what's happening to me, happening to them, decided instead to stand with me, maybe they wouldn't be able to do, like maybe what's going on right now wouldn't happen. Right? And again, I know I've said it and I keep saying it because I don't want to be dismissive of the very real fear and the very real things that people don't want to have to suffer through, because the goal is to make you suffer, right? Like I am not trying to be dismissive of that. But in the end, I don't know if you can avoid suffering by allowing other people to suffer without taking a stance. Like silence is not going to save you either. Right? Putting your head in the sand is not going to save you either. And so I want to encourage people, and and I feel like I say it and because I can't fully explain everything that's happening, it's hard for people to read, but I get it, right? Like I bit the bullet, and it was not an easy bullet to bite. And there's a lot that's happening right now that I could have avoided if I had just said, like, you know what, I'm just not going to do this thing that I think is, but I don't know if I'd sleep as well at night. Right? Like it's not fun. It's not easy. There's been a lot that has come from this that has been very like traumatizing for me, for my family, it has not been easy, but in the end, it was still more important for me to be the person who did the right thing, to be the person who didn't silence myself. And I continue to be that person. And in part, shout out mommy again, is because of her, right? Like when you're 6 years old and your mother with her grocery bags is yelling at the police officer because she doesn't like the way he's talking to the kid he's talking to, you know, you grow up with a different kind of feeling about stuff, right? So I'm not gonna pretend at all like it's the easy thing to do, but it is the right thing to do. And sometimes, like, you know, we just gotta push. And maybe if we all push, because in the end, we are the majority. Like if the people who are silently worried about the thing that could happen if they say something all said something, that would be it. That would be it. So
yeah, again, I just think part of what we have to keep trying to do is create more of the conditions for more people to do that. And unfortunately, I don't think enough people can get there on our own, and or with the limited amounts of support that we end up with in being encouraged in those directions. So the more we can get there on our own, or the more that we can create situations where people can get there on their own to play those, that is by creating the organizations, the spaces, the unions, the support networks, so people could easily just sort of fall in as opposed to feeling like they have to create something anew or start from scratch. You know, but to the request here, let me just say, clip this and see if is that enough for StreamYard to grab it?
You know, that's a good question.
Clip that, clip this, clip that, clippity, clip. We'll see. But yeah, but you're right. You're right. And yeah,
it's a rough world out there, man. So UCLA, and this isn't on the spreadsheet because I forgot that I found this.
I'm sorry.
No, go.
Just my little bit of much less serious addition. But years ago, I've said this before, but years ago, when there was a group of us as faculty that were meeting to decide what extent and what form would our resistance take, every single person at that meeting, right? Every single person at that meeting took their own path. And to your point, instead of us in solidarity and in unison saying what we all agreed we believed, all of us got picked off individually. And the three of us who remained, there's only three of us of that group, no, four of us who remained from that group on the campus to this day. One got quieted through one lofty position, another through another through another, and I got quieted by redistribution on campus. And I'm reminded of it literally this morning or yesterday morning because of the roles each have taken. Some are now forced into certain forms of communication that are a reminder, a once a semester reminder that I am now in this position and now have to communicate to you in a certain way that reminds you that I got picked off and elevated up. So yeah, it's funny because it just got the email yesterday saying, hey, this is what's happening this semester. Hey. And I'm like, yeah, I remember we was in that meeting.
Right.
and you
Right.
got quiet, and now you got this nice little such and such. But all right. So yeah, Renee is right. All right, let's see what you got here. Let me pull
All right,
this
so
up.
this is UCLA's response to what happened last summer, and I thought this was interesting because there was like I think it was like $2 billion he was trying to fleece UCLA for, and it's a public school, which I thought was very interesting. Like, how does this exactly work? So UCLA's response has basically, and I don't know if you've seen this article at all.
I haven't. It just says no deal, no defiance. That's interesting. School officials in the Trump administration have been at a standstill for months over $584 million in research grants. Wow. From the end of last year. President Donald Trump spent a good part of the year trying to bend elite universities to his will, scoring wins so far. Let's see. Instead, they're watching as UC faculty members wage their own legal challenges against Trump, scoring wins that so far have restored more than $580 million in scientific research funding the Trump administration stripped from UCLA. So they got some of their money back.
Right. And, caveat, obviously, like, we're not in great support of the research funding because we all know where that's going.
I mean,
but
right.
I think UCLA's response is an interesting one.
So the officials are taking little overt action to resolve the crisis. Let's see. There's no evidence of any type of a deal with the United States is going to be happening in the immediate future, says Justice Department lawyer Cambly. Public institution, Democratic stronghold that has taken the lead in opposing Trump on many fronts. And it takes into the opinions of Gavin Newsom. So again, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is no revolutionary, but he's on Team UCLA against Trump. UCLA troubles began with Attorney General Pamela Bondi accused the school of showing deliberate indifference to the rights and safety of Jewish students and faculty during prolonged tumultuous campus protest against Israel's war in Gaza.
And this is, I think, important for me to point out that this is the place where, when the Zionists attacked the encampment, the university stood by and let it happen, and then the next day sent the police in to destroy the encampment. So just be reminded that UCLA, under no way, shape, or form, was allowed to have their peaceful encampment where, students were singing and feeding each other and hanging out and praying together and, doing the things, right? Like, this is UCLA, where, I mean, literally they were shooting bottle rockets into the encampment and harming students. Like, this is what was happening at UCLA while the faculty and security stood by and allowed it to happen.
It's just like, these are not the good guys. Like, where are the good guys, Renee? Who's the it's like we rooting for everybody to lose. But yeah, this is fascinating. So, and yes, just quickly, yes, it's a public school, but we just, not that I think anyone here needs a reminder, but it's not like a regular public university, UCLA. I mean, it's as big as they get. And what I actually remember about one of the things I loved about the OJ Made in America series was that it talked about, at the beginning of the series, the importance to the political economy of California that UCLA represents. And that it's not just a money maker, but it's all wrapped up in identity and whiteness and superiority and European civilization and all kinds of stuff like that. So, but anyway, yeah. But it's now being in this war over research money.
Right.
Which is,
and really, I just thought it was interesting that they decided like they're just gonna wait and see what happens after all of their faculty members sue the Trump administration. Like that's their plan, right?
Here. They got a faculty senate.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a faculty senate. Must be nice. And they got to fight over governance and academic freedom. They got a whole faculty senate, and we got not that. Good for them. Force the universe to make public demand. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, I was going to say something silly like everybody should be in opposition to what's happening because just on the principle, but I keep forgetting. Sometimes I even forget the context. It's like there's no. That's never the goal, even before all of these more recent assaults. So,
right.
But that's
right. So I mean, really and truly, the basic premise of this is that the ease and quickness with which so many of the universities capitulated to the demands of the federal government in order to make sure that they maintained their money that they were getting for the research that in the end is actually being used to kill off the Palestinian people in part, right? Or other people, oppressed people around the world. So adamant they were to hold on to that funding that they capitulated to the demands of the federal government. Right. And they were doing this before. Like Harvard had long since been turning information over. Columbia had long since been turning information over. This was not new. These people were not aligned at all with their pro-Palestinian faculty and students. They weren't aligned with their Palestinian faculty and students, So it's all it's all nonsensical. But this idea that these schools capitulated so quickly, and then UCLA just quietly was like, well, we're just going to wait and see what happens after our faculty members sue. And then we'll kind of see what comes out of that. And then we'll go from there. And so, yeah.
And to that point, I mean, well, one, to the point we talked a little bit about yesterday in that Patreon special, the difference between these PWIs and HBCUs, that one of them is that UCLA, to the way you're just describing it as a largely white liberal institution, is going to allow for a little bit of that kind of angst, a little bit of that, this is what is expected of the future, one wing of the future rulers of this society, that during their college years, they have a couple protests, bang their drums a little bit, complain about the university, and then they go off and become part of the machinery that they are currently criticizing. So, whereas HBCUs, like, none of that is the expectation. And it's like, no, everybody quiet down from the jump. And part of that liberalism comes from another key difference that I didn't mention yesterday is raised in that Politico article you just shared. The University of California, it says, has 10 campuses, nearly 300,000 students, and receives close to 1/10 of all federal research funding. With those resources comes a little bit of, do what you want a little bit, hang out a little bit, do a little bit too many drugs, there's just a little bit, all those, party too much, drink too much at the tailgate, go to the big game, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
That comedian whose wife has been embarrassing him for these last few months, do what she said she was doing when she was in college. That's what they expect you're supposed to be doing. And then you go off and you get your big job, and become a future donor to the university. But at Morgan or at other HBCUs where they're not awash and all that funding. No. But all that said, these are not revolutionary institutions. That's the point. So they're not, like you said, we're gonna wait and see what happens if they sue.
Yeah, we just go roll with it. We just go roll with it and see what happens. And I want to shout out, there's a professor in the chat who is at George Washington, which is where Lara was when all these things were happening. And I don't want to pull it up because he says he's not tenured. They said they're not tenured. I don't know. I don't know what the full scope of what's happening, and far be it from me to put anybody out there, but what's happening at George Washington now is a continuation of all the behavior that had been happening, right? Like this is how this all started with Lara, which was before even Asa Flood happened. Like this is all of this, all of these behaviors from these institutions. It's all part of the larger system that is problematic, right? Like you listen, you're so busy trying to hold on to being paid by the system that is killing people.
Yipper stays on my neck, boy, I tell you.
Hey, so busy trying to stay aligned with this oppressive system that we're going to keep oppressing our staff members. Don't forget that it was a professor at Columbia that turned in Mahmoud Khalil. All of these, they're all in bed together and they're all working against the ability for the larger bit of the population to just live, right? The food is shitty, the water's dirty, the air is congested, there's too much traffic, you can't get a job that pays you can't get medical care, you can't have a job where you can take days off if you don't feel well, you're working 2-3 jobs, they're telling you have to have a house, but nobody talks to you about mortgages and the roof fucking leaking and tax bills and making sure that you shovel your own fucking snow so people don't break their neck outside your house. This dream and this fantasy about being in the middle class of America, which is all bullshit, right? It's all bullshit. One, America don't exist, so stop. Right? And two, having a house that puts you in more debt does not actually help your financial struggle, right? And this is coming from someone who has a house, right? And I love my house and I love my tree-lined streets, right? But this is bullshit. It's bullshit. And so,
yeah, and ode to John Trudell, I do know that academics are at least, if not more, cutthroat and ruthless than any corporate CEO. In general, honestly, writ large, I don't agree with that. I actually think by and large, most academics are like most working people. They're just regular, semi-decent, just trying to do their thing. But I do agree that that they can be as ruthless as any group at the end of the day. And I will say that I'm based on my own track record, I'm convinced that had I been in the faculty meeting with that faculty member that snitched on Khalil, that faculty member would have felt compelled to snitch on me by the end of that next faculty meeting. So I don't know how that person could have been felt to feel welcome among other faculty to the extent that they are. But I would have been a perennial problem for that person at a minimum. So I don't know. But then again, that's where I'm at. So you know what I mean? And the response that I got was, "Oh, you a problem for the faculty meeting? Then ain't gonna be no more faculty meetings, and and ain't gonna be no more office."
That's
what they do. So it's like, "Oh, Jared, think you gonna show up and disrupt? Oh, ain't no more meeting. Meeting, no more meeting."
Are you gonna be teaching a 5-5 again this semester, Jared?
The current schedule that they have listed.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Don't say it. Let's wait. We'll wait till the semester starts, and then you can tell me what.
Just mark today, January 17th, and I'll let you know what it looks like next week. But if the matrix is going to glitch, we're going to let it glitch. You know what I'm saying? Just let it glitch on. Glitch on. So we'll see. Is it 6? We'll see. I'll let you know. Stay tuned. You want to know what my course load is? See you next week. That's how you know to come back for Saturdays with Renee.
There you go.
No, but listen, Renee, thank you very much again. Another great show. Please, everybody, check the Patreon special with Laura and Jared for the first part of what we talked about today. And please make sure you have the bell rung so you're not missing all the great offerings on the platform. Support the platform however you can. And as always, peace only if you're willing to fight for it. As Fred Hampton used to say, thank you all to the Undefeated Chat. And we'll see you next week with more Saturday with Renee.
Black Liberation Media is a collective of Black and African organizers, journalists, academics, and media personalities serving Black and African masses seeking to further grow in their understanding of themselves, their histories, and the African world through entertainment and news. Please continue to like, subscribe, and donate to the channel so we can further serve you and liberate our people. You can also go to blkliberationmedia.org, get some merchandise, and also become a Patreon member and a member from the YouTube. Please do what you can, share, and show your love as we will show ours for you. Black Liberation Media.